poppin', y'all? It is your boy, Guard3, and welcome to Coffee and Sports, the morning show. And of course, joining me this morning, he is the foundation, the pillar of the morning show. He is Mo Betta. How you doing, Mo?
I'm doing great. Good morning, Brett. Good morning, chat. Friday. We got football to talk. We got some wrestling to talk. Let's get into it.
Absolutely. I figured we'd start off with something that made me really happy to see. Packers moved to 2-0 last night, Thursday night football. They absolutely handled the Commanders. That was a game where even when the Commanders pulled within a touchdown, I was just not really even worried about it. It's like, Jordan Love's averaging 15 yards through the air. Like, it doesn't seem like it really matters because the defense can't do anything against our offense right now. So I would love to hear some of your takeaways from the game, because part of it to me, just watching that Commanders defense at times, Mo, the Packers just made them seem way too old. Like, you had Lattimore struggling to cover like crossing routes. He was just getting ran by. Like, they just couldn't keep up with the speed of Green Bay, it seemed.
No, I agree. I was actually surprised in how easily Green Bay was able to generate explosive plays downfield. It just looked easy. And you're right. They targeted Lattimore, who was once a shutdown corner, was once a four-time Pro Bowler, one of the best cornerbacks in football. And maybe at this stage of his career, he doesn't look like he can run anymore. Like he just can't run with receivers anymore. And I'm not trying to say he can't play football still. He might just want to be a nickel back or something like that. He just doesn't have the speed or lateral quickness he once had, and they targeted him. And I thought Matt LaFleur put on a masterclass when it come to play calling. I thought everything the Packers wanted offensively, they got. I watched the game through the same lens as you watched it. I never felt like Washington threatened to change the outcome of the game. And I've watched a lot of GENEius, obviously, in his rookie season. He was not impressive last night. And I want to give a lot of credit of that to the Packers defense because they completely bottled him up. Now, they scored and they moved the ball late, but that was obviously when the Packers were giving them everything underneath and trying to run out the clock. I just thought they completely dominated the Commanders' offense. On both, they dominated the offense. They dominated the line of scrimmage. I'm just really impressed with how physical Green Bay is at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the football.
Yeah, and I got to give all the credit in the world to the Packers coaching too. Look, there's some wildly fun stuff called yesterday. Unfortunately, it seems like we're going to lose Jaden Reed till later in the year. Say the possibly earliest time he's going to come back is maybe the Eagles game, but it'll probably be later than that. But the fact that he's just so good at getting everybody involved. Jaden Reed comes out, and the first thing he does is like put Savion Williams, our third-round pick, as a Wildcat quarterback.
I love that, by the way.
Yeah. They fake the toss back to Jordan Love, and it's really just an end around, like power to the left. Like, I don't think anybody saw that coming. I didn't see it coming. I genuinely thought they were just going to flip it back to Love. There was just some absolutely sicko play designs that I loved. On the Green Bay side, look, I've been hyping up this guy for a while now. I think this is Tucker Kraft's year. He stays healthy. I think he's the top 5 tight end in the league. He can block. He also is just very physical. He's hard to contain in the passing game. Like, something I've been saying for a while. I've said this is his breakout year, and it looks like he really had a coming out party last night.
Really impressive. I watched him, and I know it's early, but he kind of reminds me of George Kittle. because he's a tight end who's physical at the point of attack when it comes to run blocking, but he can get down the field and become a legitimate vertical threat. And that's impressive to me. Anytime you have a tight end that can can be a vertical threat, it opens up your offense even more.
No, absolutely. Now, I will say there seems to be quite a few people worried about, Matthew Golden for some reason because he hasn't really been involved in the first two games. I will say the season's still young, and Jordan Love and him they just need to get their chemistry together. It seems they're close though because they were inches away from connecting on a maybe big play touchdown. Jordan Love slightly overthrew Golden. Like once those two get their chemistry together, it's gonna get crazy because soon later in the year, not only are we gonna have him and Golden on the same page, say Christian Watson will be back at some point.
Right, facts.
And then of course later in the year, you're gonna get Jaden Reed back too, and that's kind of the scariest part about all this. Green Bay is, they were not 100% yet. Say Micah Parsons is still playing, getting up to speed, trying to slowly work him back in after missing all the training camp and preseason. So I'm looking forward to it. My other and I also want to shout out my other guy. It's another guy hyped up before the year started. I think our linebacker Edgerrin Cooper is going to be a star. He has like a superpower just hunt. He has a nose for the football. He just is always near the football, and I love watching him because it doesn't matter like where he is. He can be in a big pileup, whatever. He just always seems to know where the football is, and things like that are so important to me. Like the way he tracks the football, seemingly no matter where he is.
I think you guys have another star in the making. The guy who's opposite of Micah Parsons that doesn't get enough shine. I think that guy is going to be a double-digit sack leader as well. Like you're going to have bookends that hunt people throughout games, especially late in games when you're protecting leads. So I look at him. I also look at you have a young cornerback. I want to make sure I get it right. I don't remember his name, but I think he's number 25.
Nixon?
Yeah, I like that kid. Aggressive. He drives really hard on the football. Very aggressive style. Like I think that kid has star written all over him.
See, that's the one thing I love about our corners. They seem to getting really quickly getting more comfortable playing behind their defensive line. By the way, good morning, Keith. Lucas Van Ness too.
Yeah.
Like the first game, we did great against the Lions, but they got a lot of real easy stuff underneath because our corners seem to be playing quite a bit off. But as the game moved on, progressed against the Lions, you saw our corners just get more and more aggressive because the pass rush just kept getting home, so we could just play as aggressive as we wanted to. And this game, we saw Nixon just right out of the jump be insanely aggressive because we know we didn't have to cover for that long because once again the pass rush is just getting home. We have 8 sacks through 2 games, and now we get a nice little mini bye to rest up because we don't play again till a week and a half from now. So, which I'll take it. Zach Tom was out, Banks was out, so the more time we have to rest up a little bit in the beginning here, the better.
I agree. Packers are a little bit banged up. They played well. I think there's no better time coming off a big win, and they got some guys banged up that you can get some more added rest before you turn around and jump right back into the arena. So I'm with it. I think it's a great time to get that break, and you're coming off a high. You just beat 2 teams that won 13 games last year. That's impressive to me.
Absolutely. So I think we have the Browns next. I think we have a real chance at being 8-0 by the time we hit Philadelphia. I'm not going to get too ahead of myself and say it's going to happen, but our 2 toughest teams in that stretch are the Bengals and Dallas, and those 2 games are absolutely gettable. So say I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited for this Packers season. As long as all the key pieces stay healthy, I think this very well could be a special season.
I don't disagree with you. I think I told you this before. I had the Packers winning the division before the Parsons trade. And obviously, once the Parsons trade was made, I feel like the Packers should get greedy. Now the expectations for me is I expect to see them in the NFC title game. But look, I preface everything I say in regards to any sport with so long as there are no major injuries. And I don't want major injuries for anybody. I don't wish that on anybody. Obviously, during the course of last night's game, Austin Eckler looked like, even as I saw it in the field, when he planted that towards Achilles. I'm not a doctor, but that's what it looked like. I don't know if they've already confirmed it, but I just don't want anybody else to suffer any more major injuries. I would like to have an NFL season where I know there'll be nagging injuries. Guys might miss a game or two here and there, but I want the best of the best at their very best. Just to see what can happen when they match up. I want to see the best version of Eagles versus the best version of the Commanders or the Packers or the Rams, however it folds out.
Yeah, unfortunately, they did confirm that it is an Achilles for Austin Eckler. So I'm hoping he's able to recover and bounce back. But, if this is the end of the road for Austin Eckler, he had a great career. I'd say nothing to be ashamed about. Loved watching him. Great dual threat running back. Very good receiving back. So, loved watching him play. And I hope he comes back stronger than ever.
I do too. And I'm with you. If he doesn't, he's had a really good career. And I've heard him speak in interviews. It would not surprise me at some point when he does decide to walk away that he's not up in a booth or in a studio talking football.
That wouldn't surprise me either. So I figure have a little fun though. I'm gonna go through the rest of the list of games for this weekend. Predict some winners, and then you can let me know how I do. Since I know you guys gave your predictions yesterday, so if you want to see most predictions, you can probably hear them right now, or you can just go check out yesterday's show. So we'll start off with 49ers Saints, the great Mac Jones versus Spencer Rattler duel of 2025. Can't believe we're already at this point that we get the fun quarterback duels. I'm gonna go with your 49ers. I think even the banged up version of the 49ers is still better than what the Saints are running out there. So I'll pick your 49ers to win.
I think that it's probably going to be a closer game than a lot of people predicted to be. I'd like to think the Niners would win, and I also picked them to win a close game. But I would say this: New Orleans defense didn't look awful week one. And so look, in a game where I think who turns the ball over first or at all is going to decide it, it's going to be interesting. This is going to be a game where Shanahan can have a real chance to coach up Mac Jones. And I think Mac Jones can play within the system, but he's playing within the system now, minus George Kittle, minus a legitimate number one receiver. And I'm not sure C-Mac is even 100%. So it's going to be an interesting football game.
No, absolutely. I know it'll be interesting to me to see how they navigate all these injuries. So, say Bears Lions. You know what, Mo? I'm going to pick the Lions to beat the Bears, and I feel like that. It feels like that this is a must-win game for Detroit. It's weird to say that early in the season, right? But then you really look at this list of teams that Detroit has coming up. They have the Bears. Okay. Let's say they beat the Bears. Let's say they lose to the Bears and they go 0-2. I don't know where you see a victory for them coming up after that. Well, they face Cleveland in like week 4. That's probably their one victory. But then you have the Ravens, the Bengals, the Chiefs, the Buccaneers, the Vikings, Commanders, Eagles. Like, if they lose week 2, I'm not sure they get back into the playoff hunt. I mean, they can get back into a wild card hunt, but I just don't see where I see like the maybe 3 or 4 wins necessary to stay competitive in the playoff hunt if they lose. Because man, that's just a brutal schedule they have coming up. So I think this and Cleveland, they absolutely have to win.
No, I agree that it's a big game for the Lions, but I think it's a big game for the Bears too. I think it matters that you still see continued development from Caleb Williams, and you'd like to see what happens when that newly formed Bears offense goes up against the Lions. And obviously, the play caller is your former play caller. You want to beat your former team and vice versa. Like, how would that look for the Lions, whose offense looked very inept week 1, if the guy that once called plays for you, design your offense, does this thing against you successfully? I went the other way on this yesterday. I thought, even though I'm not a huge Caleb Williams fan, I still think he can be coached up. I think there's a lot of talent on that Bears team, so I went with the Bears.
Hey, fair enough. Fair enough. It would be great for the Bears to win too. I would love to see a Chicago victory. I know they looked up and down on Monday, that's for sure. It's weird with the Bears. It feels like they have a really good offense. I think if they want to beat the Lions, though, Caleb Williams just has to be more accurate than he was on Monday. Granted, they also got to avoid committing like a million stupid penalties like they did on Monday, but
agree.
Also, there's a lot of easy plays and completions that were left on the table because Caleb either just A, flat out missed them, or B, just overthrew them. So if he wants to beat the Lions, which is a very real possibility, you just got to make sure his accuracy's on target and he's just hitting the easy completions when they're there.
I agree. If he takes what the defense gives him and he takes care of the football, it's the reason why I picked the Bears to win. Because when you look at the Lions offense, the skill position players are all still the same, but you did lose the interior of that offensive line. And it's not as good as it was, obviously, when you lose your interior offensive lineman, one of them being the captain of your offensive line and a Pro Bowler, and he's gone. So I do think if you're the Bears defense, the first thing you have to do is establish you're not going to let them be able to run the football. You're going to make them one-dimensional. Once you do that, I think you can hunt for Jared Goff.
I did find that funny after the Packers-Lions game. We had a lot of Lions fans just tagging Frank Ragnow like, hey, so are you sure about your retirement?
Yeah, that's funny.
Say, Bills-Jets? Yeah, I'll take the Bills in this one. I'm not going to overthink this one.
I didn't either, but here's the crazy part. I went with the upset. I think that sometimes we overreact to week 1. Josh Allen, he did put on his Superman cape. But he put on his Superman cape in a game that could have gone either way. I don't know if you can do that. Is that sustainable throughout? It's going to be interesting. And I also think the Jets defense is better than what they showed versus Pittsburgh. I'm gonna say that Justin Fields is able to match what Josh Allen does. I'm going with the upset, so I picked the Jets.
Hey, you know what? I like it. That'd be a lot of fun if we got an early season upset like that. Say, I remember my favorite upset I called I can't remember who, but I called a couple of Giants upsets last year, and that was always so great for me. Say, Ravens Browns. You know, I always want to go bold and like call upsets too. And it was tempting to call a Browns upset here, but I think I'll stick with the Ravens. The only reason it's tempting is for some reason the Browns and Ravens, it seems they always split their season series with one game the Browns barely eking out, and then the Ravens coming back in game 2 and just obliterating them. So part of me thinks that there's a possibility that there's an upset here. Obviously, it's not based on talent; it's more on gut feeling. Because the Ravens should absolutely blow out Cleveland, but that's what I say every year, and Cleveland always finds a way to take a game. It seems so. I'm going to go Ravens, but I'm not going to be shocked if Cleveland somehow, some way, pulls it off.
I think the Ravens win a close football game because I think Cleveland has a good defensive team. And the only real question is what version of their offense shows up. Because if you get a really good version of Joe Flacco, then you can take advantage of a Ravens secondary that looked really overrated week one. And I think that's if there's going to be a good game, an entertaining game, they got to be able to attack the Ravens downfield. That secondary, if you go off of the names that are in it, it should be like the best secondary in football, and they look really bad.
Yeah, no, that they are the feather brains though. They showed that Sunday night. There's a lot of questionable calls they had Sunday night. But yeah, no, to me the Ravens secondary at times it's like they have such the name value. It's like I was watching the 2021 Lakers where you're like, oh, they have Carmelo Anthony, except it's 2021. Oh, they have Jair Alexander, but it's also 2025. Okay,
Right,
he doesn't
right.
look good. Like, they have the names, but that was one of my takeaways from the Ravens game. Watching them, I'm just kind of like, I'm not sure if Jair is just an every down corner anymore.
That's a good
Like,
point.
he didn't look the part. Like, look, if you get beat by like the other team's number one or just, high end talent, I'm like, all right, whatever. But when I'm watching him just get cooked by guys like Joshua Palmer and, Keon Coleman, I'm like, if speed is killing you this bad, then I'm not really sure if you can be trotted out there on every down. Either that or they just have to make sure to put him on the slowest guy on the field or try to keep him away from these speedsters. But teams are going to exploit that. And I think that was the biggest problem. It wasn't the fact that his coverage still isn't good. It just seems like the athleticism in Jair is gone. And that's unfortunate because of all the knee injuries and leg injuries. I get it. But like I said, I love Jair. But it just seems like we're at the point where hopefully I'm wrong, but he just might have to go to like a part-time defensive player.
And look, to be fair, Josh Allen can make a defense look worse than it really is because of what he does with his legs. What you don't have to worry about that with Joe Flacco. So when the Bills pass rush gets any kind of pressure, Joe Flacco's not running away from it.
No, he absolutely is not. Joe Flacco's just slinging it.
So or dropping to the ground.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that just to see if the Browns can pull off their yearly upset of Baltimore. Say Giants, Cowboys. I'd say I would love to pick the Giants here, but their offense just looks so bad that I'm going to go with the Cowboys.
I am picking the Cowboys also, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Giants made it a close game. I think the Giants should be able to run the football against the Cowboys, so we'll see.
Yeah, no, they should be able to. They just don't really have a passing game. Like, I remember after Sunday they were talking about how I agree, Peanut. Talking about how Marshawn Lattimore shut down Malik Neighbors. I'm like, nah. Only one person shut down Malik Neighbors on Sunday, and his name was Russell Wilson. Like, the greatest lockdown corner the other team could ask for was Russ. He was not letting it fly. He was not cooking. So
everybody's killing Russ. Look, I'll say this. Is he Russell Wilson Pro Bowl quarterback? No, he's not Pro Bowl quarterback anymore. But I watched a good portion of that game. if the defense is just shedding your old line like butter every time you step back, I don't know how effective you're supposed to be. Because they're back there before your receivers are even finishing their routes. So they show plays where Neighbors is running free with his hands up, but Russell Wilson's already on the ground. So you're wide open for a reason because your quarterback's on the ground. Like, you got to handle that better than acting like a baby on the sidelines. Like, I need the football. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Do break off your route because they're coming. And your offensive line is not doing anything for your quarterback. The idea that bringing in Jackson Dart is going to make the offense better, in what way? It's the same offensive line. And I saw Jackson Dart in the preseason. The first red flag is he didn't know how to slide. The second red flag is he thinks he's a running back. You put Jackson Dart out there, there's no way he makes it through the season.
Oh, absolutely don't put Jackson Dart out there, because I do agree that the offensive line does need a lot of work. It's not good. I think if they get tired of Russ, then you definitely switch over to Jameis.
Jameis is exciting. And isn't Jameis exciting? Let's be honest. The one thing Jameis Winston is, he's never boring.
Yeah, he'll let it rip regardless. So
right, and he puts up points for both teams. That's kind of exciting.
No, that's fair enough. I'm looking forward to it. No, I just watched Russ be like not great with the Steelers last year, and so like to me he was already washed last year, and then watching him, it wasn't all on him because I do agree about the offensive line. But it just felt like I get it. I get why you brought him in, because you didn't want your rookie quarterback to get thrown into the fire too early. So I think he's a fine stopgap quarterback. And he's one of those guys where you just remember how good he once was. So it's really hard to watch him now because it's just like, oh, that's not the Russell Wilson I grew up with and saw. He's just kind of cooked now. But that's kind of where I'm at the nostalgia portion of his career with Russ, where I'm just like, yeah, but remember when he was in Seattle?
I agree with everything you're saying. And some of the things other people are saying is valid, but I would point out to those people, we all thought Kurt Warner was cooked too when he was on the Giants. Remember that? Remember when Kurt Warner went to the Giants and he looked completely washed. And everybody was like, Kurt Warner's trash, he's done, he's washed. And he goes to a football team with a good offensive line, with a Pro Bowl wide receiver, with an offensive coordinator with great concepts, and suddenly Kurt Warner looked a lot like Kurt Warner with the Rams. I'm not saying Russell Wilson is talented that way, but I think if you look at his last two stops, Steelers, not a good offensive line, no run game, receivers that what do you call it? Doesn't play through the football. Like, I don't think his last couple of stops, not great. I'm just talking about what he's had to settle for. And I think that if you go back, what was the best version of Russell Wilson? You could start with, he had a run game, so play action was always there. But even when Marshawn Lynch wasn't the guy and Russ became the guy, they didn't win Super Bowls, but his numbers were so much better because he had an offensive line and he had talent on the outside. I don't think when you look at the Giants, Neighbors is incredibly talented and young. He's not a great route runner. He's still raw. And who's opposite of him that draws any kind of attention? You know what I mean? I'm just saying, like, I'm looking at their weapons as a whole, and I'm trying to figure out, what are you expecting from that offense? Like, did we not expect them to not be one of the bottom 5 offenses in football going into the season? Right? Like, they would only disappoint you if they didn't do that. Like, as much as we kill Patrick Mahomes, we don't kill Mahomes, but we kill the Chiefs because they don't have a lot of explosive talent. I think the Giants have less outside of Neighbors. They have less.
No, that's fair enough. Say they have a lot of like guys who will soak up targets, but not like really any explosiveness. Like Wan'Dale Robinson and Darius Slayton are like fine targets, but They're not guys that really get you excited. Like, oh, I get to watch Darius Slayton play football today. They're quality vets, but probably shouldn't be number twos on real teams. So, say Jaguars, Bengals. Give me the Bengals. Look, they already did something game one that they wouldn't have done last year, and that's actually like win a close game and eke out a win. I know it was just Cleveland, so there's a lot to be desired with them, but like I said, to their credit, they missed the playoffs because they lost those easy games last year. So the fact they came out and took care of business in a close one, I love that for them. That's exactly what they needed to do last year and did. So the fact they got off on the right foot this year, good job, Cleveland. I mean, good job, Cincinnati. Way to go.
I'm concerned about the Bengals. I think you want the win, certainly. But that offense, it's not, again, everything so much comes down to the war at the line of scrimmage. That offensive line wasn't great. And I thought that it sped up their offense and it made them ineffective. So looking at them matching up against Jacksonville, I think Jacksonville's better than some of us anticipated them being. Travis Etienne looks a lot like Travis Etienne. He was quick. You saw that burst. Sunshine was solid, if not special. I think Jacksonville's going to be a better football team than I projected them to be. I think this is going to be a close football game, but I'll give if you want to say Cleveland, I'll give Cincinnati the edge.
Zach Taylor, I don't know what he does during the offseason.
He plays a lot of Madden, I bet.
Right? I don't know either. Like, he's just such a bad coach. Even during the Browns game. Look, I get it that you want to run the ball to, ice the clock. But watching him run like 3 consecutive halfback dives, like trying to use Chase Brown like he's Derrick Henry, was wild to me. Look, like, I get it. You want to play a little conservative, but at least run like some outside zones and some tosses. Try to get him to the outside. Don't just plunge him into the line. Like, that's just not his game. So it's little things like that where you watch Zach Taylor and you go, what does he do? Like, what's he there for? Like, is he just a really nice guy and people like having him around? Like, is he a personality hire? Because, yeah, I'm still lost on what Zach Taylor really does.
Yeah, I felt like because the game was tight and their offense was struggling, he started calling the game not to lose.
And I one day coaches will learn that's how you lose a game. When you start calling it not to lose, that's normally just how you lose football games. Same for his protege Callahan. Oh, I don't know what Callahan was doing either. Like, you could tell the game was probably lost for Tennessee when they ran that wide receiver screen. They ran the wide receiver screen. The problem is none of the receivers knew who the screen was for, and all 3 of them went to block the same guy. Once that happened in the second quarter, you're just like, the Titans are screwed, aren't they? It's not because they lack talent per se. They just had no clue what they were doing half the game, and I think that really falls on head coaching and leadership.
Positive spin, all 3 receivers were willing to block.
They just straight up looked like they were going to jump the guy. Defensive backs like, what did I
do? Oh, man.
Yeah, that too. He didn't know if their elbow hits the ground, that counts as a caught ball. Just not inspiring stuff from Callahan on Sunday, that's for sure. Because that was a game that they should have won. That's why I was so stunned when a lot of people were doing their power rankings, Mo. And it was like, oh, well, the Broncos, top 10 team. I'm like, I mean, I get that they won, but at the same time, I don't think a team tried to lose harder than what the Denver Broncos did on Sunday. Like,
I'm with you.
they tried so hard to hand that game back to Tennessee. They tried everything, but Callahan's just like, yeah, I don't want it. Thanks, guys.
I think the Broncos defense is a top 5 defense. I think the offense has some catching up to do.
No, that's fair enough. But you know what? You know who'll be happy on Sunday, I think, Mo? Kyle. Patriots, Dolphins, give me the Patriots. Say the Miami Dolphins explosion tour continues. And let's see if they can feel like the Dolphins, if they can go this week without being complete disappointments, that's a win for them. Like, if they don't besmirch the good name of Dolphins, because that's exactly what happened last week. Like, I absolutely look, they disgraced Dolphins in Miami, in the ocean. It doesn't matter. They were all disgraced by how bad Miami was last week. So if they don't look just utterly out of sync again, probably a win for the Dolphins.
Yeah, I like what Jory said with the 4 takeaways. If you're saying like the Patriots are going to get 4 takeaways, I kind of feel that way too. I think the Pats win a physical, low-scoring game, but I think their defense wins them the football game. Their offense does just enough. And Cottrell said, well, at least Cam looked. He did. I thought he looked really good. And I think he's going to be one of those guys that from week to week, he's going to get a little bit better, a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more explosive. I think he's going to have a terrific season.
Yeah, and I think that's where the Patriots have a massive advantage on Sunday. I think Mike Vrabel, as Jory is saying, I think Mike Vrabel is just such a better coach than Mike McDaniels that he's going to come out and he's going to coach circles around Mike McDaniels. And as long as they don't get absolutely obliterated like they did against the Colts, then I think, that's probably a win for Miami. We know what the end result of this team is already. And for the Patriots, just getting in the win column will be great. So I don't have the same week-to-week patience with Callahan. Fair enough.
I understand, Jory. I really do.
By the way, Cottrell, how do you like Mo's prediction? Two to Cleveland.
You know he loves it. I know he loves it.
Say Rams Titans. I gotta go with the Rams here. I think the Titans defense played great, but they're running into I think Matthew Stafford and the offense will be out to prove something. This is an offense that only put up 14 points. So I think you'll get a really motivated Rams offense backing up, one of the better defenses in football. I feel like this is a brutal couple games for, Cam Ward to draw in his first 2 games. But I think the key for the Titans, honestly, as long as Cam and the young guys continue to show positive flashes, you'll take it. At this point for the Titans, if you're competitively losing, that's probably a bonus. You still want to add some more premium picks to this roster, but you also don't want to just keep getting blown out every game. So if there's one positive takeaway from the first game, it's they were competitive.
I think this is going to be a competitive game as well. Even though the Rams have more offensive firepower, I think that because their defensive line is so aggressive, they're going to have to be really careful and disciplined with their rush lanes. Because if they're not, I think Cam's going to exploit those. And I think he's going to be able to impact the game that way. As talented as the Rams offense is, I think the Titans defense, I think they can control them. I think they can slow them down. So I do think it's going to be a competitive football game, but I like the Rams to win.
Say, Cottrell, it's he predicted he said 2 headed to the Browns.
I know you love it. I'm getting you a younger quarterback, Cottrell. You're getting rid of Flacco.
There you go.
I mean, not that he's younger in age, but I don't know how much younger he is in body. But you know what I mean.
In terms of body, Flacco still might be younger than Tua at this point.
He might be more athletic. I don't know.
Say Seahawks Steelers. I'd say this is a fun one, Mo. I'm going to pick the Steelers mainly because while I don't think the Steelers' offense will be as good as it was this past week every week, I also feel like the Steelers' defense will bounce back. And I feel like this is a good bounce back game for them. I think they got some tough covers, obviously. And a wide receiver with Jackson Smith and Jigba, Cooper Kupp still savvy. Let's make it a 3-team deal and ship Debo back.
Oh, that is not cool, Cottrell. Not cool. Nah. No, we're good. Okay, you know what? Let's just leave Tua where he is. If it's gonna come down to that, no, we're good. No, look, I think you have a good case because I think that the Steelers defense will bounce back, but they're going to bounce back primarily because they're playing against Sam Darnold. So if they're not going to be good against Sam Darnold this week, they're not going to be good against anybody. So I do think that the defense bounces back. I think the offense takes a step back. Not that they're going to not play well, but I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to throw for 4 touchdowns. I think it'll be a more controlled effort offensively. I think it's a game where the Steelers win like 20-10.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I think they'll take a step back, but if a step back is them dropping, maybe 20 points instead of 30 or even 5, that should be more than enough to win this football game. Because if you're giving up, 28 points to the Seattle offense with Darnold and a leaky offensive line, then you have bigger problems at that point.
Right. Agreed.
Say Broncos Colts. You know what? I'll take the Broncos. The Colts look great in week 1. They look fantastic. And if you judged every team based on their week 1 performance, the Colts are probably just the best team in football. That being said, they just happened to get a lucky draw, and they drew the most dysfunctional team possible in the Miami Dolphins. So I think the Colts come back down to earth against an elite Broncos defense. And as long as Bo Nix doesn't just be a turnover machine like he was last week, and the offense doesn't have four turnovers, then I think this is one they should have, and I think they'll have it rather easily. I don't think Danny Dimes is doing what he did last week every week, but I think that.
No, I was just going to say I don't think Daniel Jones is going to go. I think it was 22 for 27 or something like that, and pick apart the Broncos defense. But I will say this game to me for the Colts, this is the rubber hits the road, right? You're going to find out what Daniel Jones is, because I think if he can give them comparable quarterback play, and I've been consistent in saying this, I think they're going to win that division because they do have one of the better offensive lines in football. They do have one of the better running backs in football, Jonathan Taylor, and they have talent on the outside. They have a solid defense. The Colts have everything in place to be one of the better teams in the AFC, and the only real question mark is that quarterback. So I think you find out, can Daniel Jones be a comparable game man? Even if they lose, I want to see what he looks like. Like he could play well and they lose, but if they lose and he plays well, I still think that bodes well for them going forward. If you lose to a Denver team with the type of defense that they have in a competitive football game, going forward, if you're the Colts in that division, I think that's your division to lose.
No, fair enough. Say Panthers Cardinals, to me, give me the Cardinals. I don't think there's a team that maybe looked more uninspiring outside of Miami than the Carolina Panthers did.
This is another one of the upsets I picked yesterday. I remember this. I actually, even though I was disappointed in the Panthers' performance in week 1 and Bryce Young, I think they bounced back. I think Chuba Hubbard has a big game versus the Cardinals. I'm going to take the Panthers for the upset.
Hey, fair enough. Say anything can happen with this one, that's for sure. Say Eagles Chiefs. I'm taking the Eagles. I think they win this one pretty comfortably.
I said that I said the same thing yesterday, but are you sure? Do you really think that they're going to – I know what they did in the Super Bowl, but do you really think they're going to mow through the Chiefs again?
I don't know if they'll mow through them like they did in the Super Bowl, but I do think that I just think that this is a comfortable victory because when it comes to the Chiefs, like who's getting open? Like they can run. They'll try to run the ball with Pacheco. I think they have a decent chance at establishing a ground game, but when Mahomes drops back to pass, who's getting open? Not named Hollywood Brown.
I don't even know if he's getting open. Look, I agree with you. I think the Chiefs they don't have anything explosive on the outside. I think Travis Kelce is a mortal now. He's a mere mortal now. And while I'm not anti Pacheco, I just don't think there's anything special about him. I just think he's just a regular old running back. I think the most special thing about Pacheco is his last name. But I'm not talking about the Chiefs offense. I think the Chiefs still have one of the best defenses in football. It's a physical defense. I think that defense, if they can shut down Philadelphia and make it a low-scoring, slobber-knocker type of game, I think it's going to be competitive. I still think the Eagles are the better football team. I think the Eagles win the game, but I don't think they mow through them.
Say Worthy's playing this week. I mean, that's good. I still pick the Eagles. I'm still picking the Eagles. I think it's going to be one of those games where it might be like competitive in the first half, but then you look at the final score and it's like, oh, okay, 27-17, pulled away at the end.
I expect Jalen Hurts to have a lot of opportunities to get the ball down the field to Brown and Smith because I know Spags, he's not going to let Saquon Barkley even get started. So my guess is if I had to predict Saquon's numbers, maybe 70 yards at best.
Oh, fair enough. Say Falcons, Vikings, fun one, but you know what? Give me the Falcons. Might be the hater in me talking, but I'll take the Falcons. I thought the Falcons looked very impressive, and Penix made a lot of plays to put them in position to win that football game last week.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're okay. No, you're good. Say it. No, I was just really impressed with Penix, and that defense came so close. But I feel like that this week they get the job done. They draw, J.J. McCarthy, who played 3 quarters of really mortal and really bad football. He had a great fourth quarter, obviously, but I just don't think we're going to get fourth quarter J.J. McCarthy again for 4 quarters. I think it's going to be closer to the first 3 quarters, and the Falcons actually take advantage and don't melt down like Chicago.
Fair enough. So I actually went the other way on this game because while I'm a big Michael Penix fan, I'm not a fan of Michael Penix going up against Brian Flores and that defense. I think the Minnesota Vikings defense turns Michael Penix over at least twice. And all that's required of J.J. McCarthy, whether he looks poised or a little bit inconsistent, is that he has a clean football game. If J.J. McCarthy doesn't turn the football over, the Vikings are going to win the football game. I picked the Vikings.
Oh, fair enough. Say Buccaneers, Texans. I'll take the Buccaneers. I don't know which game I'm picking the Texans to win in. I know they'll win some football games this year, but man, that offensive line is bad. I don't know what the GM was thinking this offseason. I get Tunsil was penalty prone. He wanted to trade him because he's a big contract, I guess, but at the same time, they just didn't do really anything to replace him. They drafted 1 offensive lineman. So, and it showed. They looked utterly unimpressive. When your defense holds the Rams to 14 points, that's a very winnable football game. But with the Rams got so much pressure on CJ Stroud, it didn't matter. They could only muster up 9 points. And I think this is going to be a common theme with the Texans. They're just going to have trouble keeping pass rushers out of the backfield.
I want to root for the Texans. Like, I'm a CJ Stroud fan, but I do have concerns about not only their ability to protect him, but the offense as an overall unit. I do think that Nico Collins can't do it alone. Although I will say this, a positive sign, a guy that I love rooting for, Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb showed some signs. He looked pretty good for game 1, week 1. And I hope that he only continues to get better as the season goes on. I'd love to see him bounce back and be an all-pro running back again. So I'm rooting for Nick Chubb, but I think the Texans take an L this week.
No, absolutely. And then, of course, Chargers, Raiders. These games are always fun. The in-division West games, they can go either way. I'm gonna predict the Raiders pull it out. I think this should be a fun back and forth game, and I think everybody's gonna be picking the Chargers in this one. But my gut is telling me that this is gonna be the Raiders game to win. So I'm gonna trust my gut on this one, and I'm gonna pick the Raiders.
Nothing wrong with your gut. This is gonna be a close divisional back and forth game. There are no pushovers in the AFC West, including the Raiders. I'm still going to roll with my guy, Jim Harbaugh, that they'll find a way to win a game, even if it's a low-scoring game, but I'm going to take the Chargers.
The never-ending rivalry continues with Pete Carroll and Jim Harbaugh.
That's true. That's true. But from going back to his Niners days, right?
Yeah. Say even in
college, when he was at Stanford, yeah,
no, I thought he finally escaped him when he came to the NFL. Then it's like, oh, Pete Carroll of the Raiders. Are like, you got to be kidding me! Are these two just going to follow each other everywhere they go?
And they do like to take digs at each other too. So trust me when I say, even though it's week 2, this game means a lot to both teams and both coaches.
Yeah, I love how they downplay each other. It's so funny to me. But those are my NFL predictions for the week. Well, I wanted to cap this off by, talking some wrestling. Because there's definitely some very interesting things that were said this week. And I think it starts with TKO president, who was... and to me, this is very disappointing what he said. He is talking about ticket prices. And as we know, ticket prices, the WWE events just keep getting higher and higher and higher. And he came out and just straight up said, he's like, I think we can make even more money. So he pretty just insinuated that the prices are going to keep going up because, ticket prices are lagging far behind, he said, UFC ticket prices. So, and he's like, Vince McMahon was just trying to, market towards families. So I think he left a lot of money on the table. I'm just like, well, good job if you're trying to make Vince seem like the most reasonable guy in the room when it comes to ticket prices, I guess. But
right. I'm just listening to those words. So you're saying like Vince is like a man of the people? Vince, really? Are we talking about the same guy?
Yeah, it's just really unfortunate that TKO just, cares about raising the ticket prices even more than, just giving fans an affordable experience.
I think the mistake TKO is going to make is they're gonna price out a lot of their fans. The average person, if you don't have it, you don't have it. And they're not going to show up to these events. And I think what TKO has to realize is you guys have so many pay-per-view events, they're starting to feel less like pay-per-view events, if that makes any sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, it used to be special, but now if you're having one like every other month, I don't know if it's that special anymore. And I know that I'm just talking, I can speak for me. I'm good. I was more than willing to pay for Peacock to watch some pay-per-view or access to some pay-per-views. But I'm not willing to pay more money by getting the other. I think a lot of people will, but I won't. I think a lot of people won't. And now you're talking about your live events that you're going to up the prices. I just feel like you're missing the bigger point by trying to fatten your wallets. I think you're going to alienate a big portion of your fan base.
Hey, I think if look, if there's one thing that AEW's gotten right so far, it's keeping the ticket prices affordable. So I think you're going to end up. I think you might accidentally end up pushing a lot of your fans over to some competition if they keep it up with this too, right?
It will.
Like if you're a fan of wrestling, there's the alternative. It's hey, guess what? It $80 for a nosebleed seat and for WWE, or AEW is coming to town for $80. Half the time you can get really close to ringside seats, and like your nosebleeds there are like $30. So it's one of those things where, yeah, I agree. They're just going to end up pricing out their fan base, and I think a lot of the true wrestling fans are just going to start looking elsewhere. That being AEW, TNA. Maybe they start looking at their local indie events. It's just really unfortunate because at the end of the day, it was always meant to be like family friendly entertainment, and now TKO just wants to make it like a spectacle. But it's hard to make it a spectacle like UFC when it's just on every week. When you see it every week, it's not like UFC events where it's like, oh, UFC like once every 4 months, or once every 3 months, because the fighters do need rest. You can't just run a UFC event every week. But when it's WWE, it's harder because it's like, oh, okay, well, I can watch them every single week plus a pay per view every single month, sometimes twice a month, and you're just like, this doesn't have the same special feeling as like a UFC event to be gouging for ticket prices.
It doesn't. And I think that's the problem that they're missing, or the point that they're missing. Like, you can be the biggest wrestling fan in the world. You and I love wrestling. I think a lot of people in the chat love wrestling. But it is sports entertainment. It's not really the same. I know you like to say it's the same, but it's not the same as the UFC. Believe it or not, the outcome of a UFC event is not predetermined. At least I believe it not to be. But we do know the outcome of WWE events. They're predetermined. It's sports entertainment. That they hit completely different. So I think you're missing the point when you're trying to make that comparison. And look, it's not like you weren't making a ton of money. I feel like WWE, when they went into the deal with TKO, I think TKO gave them the oh, we're not trying to change anything. We know what you're good at. We know your strengths. This is our strengths. And now that they're in there, what are they doing? They're changing things. And now live events, you are going to alienate a lot of fans. You just are. And I think you're going to leave a lot of money on the table that way.
No, absolutely. Let's say, and of course, there's a big announcement, by the way, from WWE, and Damien just kind of alluding to it. It's rumored that it's going to be 2027 WrestleMania to Saudi Arabia. So I'm not sure how to feel about that one. I'm not a big fan of it. I feel like part of the allure of WrestleMania is a lot of people going to see and travel to see it, and I'm not really sure that a lot of people are going to be jumping to travel to Saudi to go watch WrestleMania. But I I don't know. It feels like if there's a fan base that should get a WrestleMania, it's the UK. Just based on how passionate they are. Like if we're going overseas for a WrestleMania, it feels like it should be the UK. It just doesn't feel right because it doesn't even feel like they're the most worthy fans over there to be getting a WrestleMania.
The Saudis are getting a WrestleMania because they have the money to pay for it, right? That's what it comes down to. They outbid everybody else, and it literally came down to money. They have unlimited supplies of money in terms of wealth and power. That's why they're going to get WrestleMania. Not because they have I'm not saying they have bad fans, but I don't think their fan base is as loyal or as loud or as enthusiastic as the UK or other places. They're getting it because they're basically giving more money. That 100% is a TKO move.
Yeah, absolutely. And apparently it's rumored that they're going to be contacting a lot of the legends. We know Saudi loves their legends, so they're already going to be, pretty much if you're a legend and have a big name, you could go over there and work the Saudi WrestleMania and get a massive payday. So it's rumored that they're already going to be contacting all the usuals. Like, I'm sure the Undertaker will be there. I doubt he wrestles, but I'm sure he'll be there. Say apparently they're going to be contacting, Stone Cold, The Rock, Shawn Michaels.
Look, everybody you just named can make a ton of money by just showing up and signing autographs and attending events, right? You know that's what's going to happen. I don't think none of them have to perform.
No, that's fair. I think the only one who might perform out of that crew is obviously there's always a possibility, I guess, with The Rock, but even it feels like he's probably done at this point. But money talks, so I guess we'll see if they can give him big enough paydays to want to be like, you know what, maybe I will wrestle one more match. Which honestly, at this point, I hope not. For all the guys that I named, I hope I don't see any of them wrestle. I think Stone Cold got his perfect retirement match, honestly, with Kevin Owens. I think The Rock got his perfect retirement match at night 1 of WrestleMania 40 in the tag match.
Agreed. I think they're all done. I'm with you. Great careers, iconic stars. I don't want to see any of them in a wrestling ring again. At least not to wrestle. Now, if they want to step in and maybe do a bit or some kind of spot, I'm here for it. But I don't want to see them trying to perform in a wrestling ring.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So that's all the time we have for today, Mo. Anything you want to add before we get up on out of here?
No, I appreciate the energy from the chat. Thank you guys for joining us on a Friday. Make sure you guys check out my guy, Brett, on TikTok. He has a lot of interesting takes, fun videos. And if you guys some time after that, stop off by mine. I'm MoBetter3000 at TikTok. All I'm doing mostly is asking hypotheticals and having fun questions about what is with the NBA.
I say absolutely. I say, and you can catch us next week. We'll make sure to get you the time and date. I know I'm going to a Brewer game next week, and I may try to get off Saturday. Full big day of wrestling then with between an AEW pay-per-view and WWE. Thankfully I have a couple of friends who have ESPN Plus, so I can just use their account to watch it. Don't got to pay the $30 for it. But yeah, so we'll still make sure to have Meaty Boys and one, but we'll make sure to get you the dates and times. So that being said, thank you everybody for tuning in, and I hope you guys enjoyed the rest of your night.